21 people are waiting for us. I think we are live. Well, that takes a few seconds always.
Yeah.
YouTube says we're live.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Well, on our wonderful iPad here that you guys don't see yet. It's not showing yet. But how do you guys know it's live? Oh yeah, here we are. Awesome.
Now we're live.
Great.
Yay.
So I'll just take a photo. So remember this wonderful setup. I could actually, the fun thing is I could patch in my phone as a third camera as well, but I'm not doing this because my data package expired.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I see lots of other folks. Okay, I see Adash, I see Sophia, I see Kai in Zurich. Hi, Kai. Okay. I haven't even muted him yet, and he's on mute.
Is it an auto thing with, I guess,
Do we auto mute participants?
No. They are at the moment. They are just muted by choice.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi guys. Good evening.
This is who?
Adash.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Adash.
Hi. Good evening.
What do you got on your background, buddy? What is that?
Yeah, it looks pretty fascinating.
Which one?
Adash's.
Oh yeah, well, some world domination
Like
plans.
behind me. There's also commercial secrets there, yeah.
And well,
We're
lucky.
gonna take screenshots.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
now.
You know, good reminder. Let me press that record button.
It's already being recorded by on YouTube, yeah.
It is indeed.
It's now an open secret, like everyone
Oh
knows.
no.
Hey, open source, come on.
Okay. Well, so while you know what? While you guys keep talking, there is quite a few people who signed up on Eventbrite again today after the reminder email that I sent. So I'm just gonna send out the live coordinates again.
Make sure they know where it is.
It would be we were just discussing about this over chicken wings, that it would be a fun situation if we didn't have enough space for everybody in the room. But yeah, why don't we just look who else is there? Who's that person? Who's that person?
Oh, it's
wow.
Ginny. Hi, Ginny.
Hi, Ginny.
Good evening.
Myself. Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Can you guys hear us okay?
I can see you fine, yeah. Yeah.
And hear us as well? Are we loud and clear?
Yep, I can hear everyone.
That's great. And we have a few other people on Zoom as well. Yeah. Maybe you'd like to introduce yourself.
Me?
Yeah, we can start with Ginny.
Yeah, okay. Hi everyone, I'm Ginny. I'm a freelance science writer and presenter. So I've just moved to Singapore from the UK. I'm finishing up writing a book at the moment, but I also, back in the UK, I did a lot of live shows to schools and at festivals and things. And obviously none of that is happening right now. All the festivals are being cancelled. A lot of the schools are shutting down. So I'm currently looking at how I can adapt some of my shows into something that can be delivered virtually. I've done some teaching virtually before, but for adults. So I'm now looking at how I can do it for kids and keep that sort of fun, interactive element whilst staying away from each other.
Thanks for that. I think today that's exactly what we want to discuss. Obviously, we'll have a lot of people who have a lot of experience running both events offline as well as online. But today, together, we hope that we can figure out like a better way, of engaging people online, of making things fun, even without the kind of social contact that you usually have at offline events, right? So I think there's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, if you don't have beer, I'll take
looking
water.
forward to doing that soon. So over here, we're in Singapore, by the way. If you can see, we have a couple of speakers in the room, and Is there anyone on the call from anywhere else? Maybe you'd like to tell us about how the situation is like where you are.
Is anybody dialing from Mars, really?
Yeah, this is me.
Who is dialing from Mars?
I'm dialing in from Mars. This is Kai from Switzerland. Good to see you all. And we are under lockdown. And it's a weird situation, but we are making the best out of it and hoping for things are turning to be better. And I'm super excited to hear from you. And I love your show. Hi, Uli.
Hi. Good. Well, when you say under lockdown, are you not supposed to leave the house?
We are close to it. I'm expecting this from tonight.
Okay.
And I'm not leaving, by the way. This makes no sense. We have to just stop this infection and behave like we would carry the virus. And this is the best thing to behave. Then you know immediately what to do and what just to let go at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, somebody was just saying, your grandparents were sent to the war. You are sent to sit on the couch.
Yeah, this is
Try to be okay with it.
This is super hard.
I know, for a guy like you who's been traveling like nuts. I mean, I've been traveling.
Yeah. They
How are you
stopped me.
adjusting to working from home or being stuck at home? How's everyone on the call adjusting to that? Like,
Who else do we have in the room? 12 participants. Okay. Right, I'm sending out that email to everyone now. Okay. And we are, of course, way ahead of time. We are telling everyone that we are starting at 7-ish and the real meet is at 7:30.
yeah.
But nobody says we can change our plans, right? And since we don't have any KPIs, we don't have any sales leads to close, we can do this the way we want.
We can do whatever we want.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
I think Pauline, who has kindly sponsored the venue for a couple of us, is dialing in soon. Are you dialing in?
yeah, on mute,
Yeah, you
please,
should
and without audio output.
Say hi to the team.
We don't have any sales leads to close. We can. That's it. Somebody has their.
Whatever we want.
Yes.
It's not me. I think Pauline, who
Somebody needs to be on mute.
sponsored the venue.
Someone watching the
Okay.
YouTube or something.
All right, it's gone. I think it might have been me
Oh.
okay.
in the second window.
Ah.
Good.
Oh, I didn't sign up. That's fine.
I think we have some more people who are dialing in now. I see Ramona shooting.
Hello.
Ling Sung.
Hi.
Hello. Where are you
Hi.
joining us from?
Taiwan.
Oh,
Hello.
nice.
Hello.
Nice.
Hello.
Okay.
No, again?
No, cannot be. Who has music playing?
It's a transmission from Mars.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Now we get it.
probably.
There's a delay of about 25 years on the line.
Well, so here's the interesting thing, and I spoke about this last time. We had a Singapore University professor who was showing a YouTube video, and we were live streaming, and I got a little nervous because a few weeks ago I was testing the YouTube live streaming service, and I had the kitchen radio playing. It was, I think it was Fleetwood Mac, and a few minutes later, it was a test stream only, it was not public, and I get an email, your video has been blocked because you violated copyright laws. So there is some artificial intelligence at work that basically blocks your stream immediately if you play some copyright music. So we gotta be careful. It's one of the lessons learned I guess that it's invaluable for things like this. Imagine you run a full-blown commercial event on YouTube,
Mhm.
and then somebody
Yeah.
plays a ringtone with Robbie Williams, and there you
And
go.
then you shut down.
Happens all the time. Okay. Oops. We've got mute.
Just make sure you
So-
output.
Just a quick
no, that's-
question.
Okay.
I know. See, this is tough. I mean, Michael, how is this with you? When I've seen, and the reason why Michael is here, because I saw him that he's one of the first guys over here in Singapore to start online meetups when face-to-face meetups are no longer possible.
Yeah.
And I've seen you with a mic and a few, and I think Rachel was there as well. Right. But there was one mic and only one laptop or something, right?
Yeah, so we tried it with it was for this junior dev meetup that we had, and we got a bunch of so we had to cancel on a day because we just couldn't use the venue that we were originally supposed to have. The company wasn't comfortable with hosting us, and the speakers were all not available. And we kind of like, okay, fine, let's gather all my friends, all the organizers, co-organizers, and meet at some place. And then we basically set up a microphone. I got my Zoom set up, and it was like, okay, let's just have a chit chat.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it was quite fun. It was just a simple what was it? The Yeti. It was a Yeti mic, Yeti Pro.
Oh yeah.
It was Yeti Pro, and we was plugging to my laptop using USB. Actually, I had a bit more of a bit more complex setup, as in you only see the laptop. There's actually another laptop behind, which is attached to the Engineers SG recording gear, and it has a similar webcam as you. So yeah, so it was basically live streaming while and people could just basically watch the stuff that we do. Yeah, it was a simple, just YouTube live, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Because I realize, I mean, I'm rather geeky, and I'm interested in bit rates and all kinds of things. How long is a piece of string? You can dig into. And where's this Suresh person anyway? Is he on? It's too early anyway. We can go deep into the engineering room, but
Wow.
even things like how do we mute everyone in the room, and which microphone do we pick? It's tough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have a dynamic microphone? Do you have a condenser microphone? And
Yeah.
it's getting really complicated. Wi-Fi strength.
I guess if you're in an enclosed room like this, a condenser mic will just be just nice.
Yeah, like this one.
Like what you're using. Yeah. Condenser mic is close miking, and so that people can hear. What's the best would be to have everyone wear a headset so that it's really close, really good. The microphone is close to the voice of everyone, so it doesn't source a lot of voices.
Right.
Those dynamic microphones are also the ones that they use on the radio. So if you want to have that deep sound,
Dolby surround sound.
it doesn't pick out the environment so nicely like this one. It's not so sensitive, but it gives you that full
nice and dynamic
sound.
range. They call it.
Yeah.
Cool.
We are not complete yet, are we? It's not even 7, right? And look at all these amazing. So, do we at some point do a group photo?
We can.
A group
we
screenshot.
definitely can try doing that. I actually need to test this Kahoot thing.
Yeah. Well, why don't we do a test with the folks who are already here?
We could, but I might need to share my screen for the questions.
I will
that
consider.
people
I will
can-
consider that.
Oh.
Why don't we do that?
When it comes.
Yeah. So either if I can share my
Oli?
screen, or do we test the sharing door?
Who's that?
Wally, Suresh speaking.
Suresh is
Hi.
here.
Hello.
Hi, Suresh.
We're just talking about. We just completed the section where we talked about the technology.
Now moving on.
No.
And now we have, I think Suresh, you're the third person to join with a really intriguing background with commercial secrets. We have we have Adarsh, who also has a lot of things written on the whiteboard behind him. And I see someone else on the call, Ming Song, who also has something that looks like a lot of secrets written.
It's a link wall. We are from a same office.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, you have some pretty cool equipment there as well.
Era is a product placement, right?
Yeah. Guess who are they from? My backlight is not helping me. I don't usually use this webcam, but this webcam is not helpful.
We couldn't hear you very well.
Hello. Is that good?
Yeah, it's slightly better now.
The orientation.
Can I get a sticker as well? I'm looking at my big
Yeah,
screen
you're talking about
monitor.
the Martian stickers. Yes, we will send one on a camel along the Silk Road. Oh yeah, it's the other direction, right? It's New Zealand.
Set it in a boat then, the camel.
Okay, I think, do we want to talk with Suresh first, or do we want to do Kahoot? We try Kahoot?
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Do I have to share my
Yes.
screen for the? All right.
I'm just doing a quick mic test. How does it sound to everyone else?
It sounds good. We can hear
Okay,
you.
cool. Then I'll mute myself.
So what we're gonna do now is to do a short quiz about the reason why this thing is online, which is the coronavirus. And so we're using this tool called Kahoot.
Are we seeing the screen?
I
Not
will
yet.
place the link in chat so that you can see it. And you will need a pin to join the quiz. So that's in chat as well. And you won't be able to see the questions, so I will be showing you the questions on the screen. Okay, there's an updated pin, so sorry. This is the correct one.
Do you want to share the screen? Not yet.
Yes, I'll share my screen now.
No, because I'm not sharing my screen, because that is now coming from this other machine.
So those watching the live stream can probably join us as well, but there may be a little delay. So it's a time quiz, and so not only are you competing to get the right answer, but you're also competing to be the first one to get the right answer. Yeah, and so let me just give it a while for people to join, and then we can start playing.
Do you have the big prize for the winner?
Yeah.
928786. Is there time limits, or is there?
There
like
is a
ticking
time
clock?
limit. Yeah, there's a time limit for every
928.
question.
786.
So, I mean, there's just been a lot of news, right? Being bombarded by new information every day about the coronavirus, which countries are closing their borders, what travel advisories there are. So I think this is just a really basic, like testing your understanding. Ginny, probably your benchmark is that you have to get everything right because Ginny is a scientist. But yeah, for the rest of us, we'll name and shame you if you get any really basic questions wrong. Yeah, okay, people are still joining, so yeah, let's give it a while. And let's see how many of us are on the call in Zoom. There's 28 people. Okay. And maybe another 19 on the YouTube live stream.
It's only 7:03, so it's when people see that calendar invite and click on that link and say, "Oh yeah, I got to download Zoom." Oh, where's that? Where's that thing? We are early.
All right.
But yeah, let's play. We are testing.
Let's play. So. Okay. First question, what is coronavirus? So the options are available on the screen. If you're using your phone, you should only see you wouldn't see the question, but you will see, like the red and the blue boxes, and you can just pick the right answer. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
What?
Okay. that was unexpected.
What was that? Was I supposed to pick something?
Okay. Yep. So the correct answer is it's a viral infection. I don't think it's possible to see who chose the wrong answer. Maybe we'll just move on. So there is a scoreboard, and we can see who's leading at the moment. Of course, with every question, this will change. So again, the scoreboard reflects the person who got the answer right, but also the person who got the answer right the fastest. Okay, so explanations over. Moving on to the second question. So you guys ready?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, look up. No need to answer this time.
Oh. Oops. So this is just basic information, and now we'll move on to the next question.
Okay.
What are the symptoms of COVID-19? There's actually more than one right answer here. So if you're a bit confused right now, that just means that you're probably right.
I'm curious to know who's using this Kahoot on their phone while they're looking into another device. I think in Zoom you can raise your hand, or I don't know, you can just also put it in the chat. It's just interesting for me. Are you using both on the same device? Okay. I'll have to say what he said.
I'm sorry, we couldn't hear you very well. I think some
feedback.
It may be somebody okay. Who has a busy, noisy location. Lucky them. Lucky them.
Yeah. Okay. So nobody picked tiredness. The most popular option was fever. 13 of you picked that, and then dry cough and nasal congestion had 3 people picking that each. So let's see if you guys are correct. Aha, as expected, Ginny is leading the polls. Closely followed by A, who was the winner in the previous question. And then Sunka, is that Suresh? Third?
Yes.
Someone else. Who is Sunka? Raise your hand.
It sounds Thailand. I think from Thailand, someone. Maybe.
Okay, I'm not sure who that is. Q, who's Q? Would like to raise your hand?
Quinton?
Quinton. Yeah.
Just
assuming. Great. And Buddha. So all doing well. The ones with the green triangles next to you, congratulations, you're moving up. A has stayed in second position. Maybe you'll make it first next time. So without further ado, let's go on to the next question.
And for those who are just joining us, and I see more people joining, we are just playing a game as we are gearing up. The official part starts in a moment with the introductions and the panel discussion. Right now we are in a Kahoot game.
Yep. And you can COVID symptoms will show up within 24 hours. This should be an easy one. Aha. So, yep, let's just see Okay, our top 5 has stayed unchanged. Fascinating. Let's move on to the next question. We are not halfway through yet. We're on the 5th question. So this is another no need to answer question. So most commonly symptoms arise around 5 days, but it can take up to 14 days, which is why in most places your quarantine would, if you've been in contact with someone who has the virus or something, you would be asked to be quarantined for 14 days. Next question. Oh, this is an open-ended one, so you get 2 times the points. Okay. I think because it's open-ended, so it's most coronavirus symptoms begin around blank days. Type the digit.
Ooh. And are you the one judging then?
I am.
Distributing points?
I'm not distributing the points. The points is done. It's that's automated. I'm just reading out the results. So this is not rigged. And it's just based on your own effort and understanding of the situation. And I guess because it's an open-ended question, so they're giving it longer time for people to type. But time is up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay. So that's the right answer. And well, congratulations to Q.
To the scientist, right? Oh.
Yeah, but it's expected.
Right? Yeah,
of
course. I mean,
so if she drops in the rankings, then that would be a problem. But in the meantime, congratulations, Q. You've beat Sunka to number 3 on our scoreboard. 8 of you have reached answer streak 4, which is where you've answered 4 questions correct consecutively. So congratulations on that. Hope to see you reach answer streak 5 as well. So let's move on. Another 2 points question. 2 times the points. How does COVID-19 spread? So red through touching objects, blue when an infected person coughs or exhales, yellow through sharing blood, and green through toxic waste. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so most people picked when an infected person coughs or exhales, and 3 of you picked through touching objects.
9 questions left. Oh, wow. Good.
Okay, let's see. Okay. Wow, Sunka went from 4th to 2nd. Pauline has entered our scoreboard for the first time at number 5.
Is that part of Kahoot?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. Kahoot has a very addictive song it plays during the quizzes. I don't think you can hear it. Maybe you can hear it on your phones, but no, that wasn't part of it as far as I know.
Good.
Okay, next question. Let's see if Pauline can move up the ranks further. Okay, so this is another fact. So it's usually spread from droplets, right? And droplets can be inhaled. So wash your hands frequently and just don't share food. Protect myself from catching COVID-19. I should. Red, wear a mask. Blue, avoid touching my face. Yellow, wash my hands for at least 20 seconds. And green, maintain distance from someone coughing or sneezing. So most of you picked wash my hands for at least 20 seconds. Yeah. avoid touching my face.
2 times happy
Yes.
birthday.
4 people, yeah, 4 people wear a mask, maintain distance. And okay, Simon Bernie has now replaced Pauline, unfortunately, as number 5. But it's okay, you still have
You
room
have
to-
reached answer.
Sorry? Yeah, okay. So let's go on. So conscious of time, if I'm ill with COVID-19, wearing a mask will prevent my germs from spreading to others. True or false? Easy one, 7 people answered, 10, 11, 15 people answering with 10, 9, 8, 7, 5 seconds on the clock, 4, 3, 2. All right. This is a giveaway, so let's see. Nothing
Oh,
has
Ginny is tough to beat.
Yes.
Ginny is tough
Yeah.
to beat. Yeah.
Okay, there's still 5 more questions, so that's this one is no need to answer. So we'll just worldwide shortage of masks. So if you aren't ill, please don't wear one. Question number 12. How long are you going to attend? Poll. So not a. This is just a poll. Just pick whatever you, what is something that you are following. At least for 20 seconds.
birthday
Only mention happy birthday twice.
Yeah.
For 20 seconds exactly, and 20 seconds for caps lock. And most people say at least for 20 seconds. So interesting statistic. Move on. Another open-ended question with 2 times the points. Just fingers, like who has the fastest fingers one.
Oh.
So it meant you wash your hands for at least blank seconds. This is probably okay. I might skip this one. But I would guess that most people picked or typed 20. Yeah. 30 as well. And no changes to our scoreboard.
Oh, come on.
Nearing the end. If you can't wash your hands with soap and water, you should hand sanitizer containing at least how much alcohol? 5%, 30%, 25%, 60%.
That I don't know.
There was also a shortage of hand sanitizer in Singapore, and I was recommending people can use some excessive to wash their hands.
Jim Beam.
And if it's not enough of a alcohol content, you can actually try cooking it over a flame, and then so what's left behind would be very high. Yeah. So most people pick 60. Which is the correct answer. 5 of you picked 30. So close enough, I mean, but it's a bit higher, like the percentage. Wow, congratulations, A. You've answered 9 questions correctly. So even if you don't, you have the record of the most number of questions correct. And puzzle time. The research discovered coronavirus D, I, 2, and 19.
Oh, wow, that's.
Oh.
There's more time to debate on this. So you could actually probably check Google as well if you wanted to. But we'll encourage, this is a fair game. So no Googling. Nine of you have answered. So still counting down. Just make a guess. If you're not on the scoreboard yet, it might be your chance. Probably you would make it to number 1, but you make it. I think number 2 to number 5, that's still a possibility. So let's see.
In a moment when we are done again. Yeah, we have the last question coming up, right?
Yes, the last question is, the next question is the last one.
Okay.
So.
Can I just be really picky for a moment with my science hat on?
Sure.
So COVID-19 is actually the name of the disease. The virus is called SARS coronavirus 2.
Absolutely.
So yeah, just the next time, worth making that distinction.
Good.
All right.
I'm glad I didn't have to be the party pooper. Thank you, Ginny.
Okay, so the correct answer, correct order is COVID-19. Yeah. And let's see. So still our favorite 5 people, with Ginny leading the pack, and then Sunka with 10 correct answers in a row. Yeah. And now for the final question, which is true or false, with 2 times the points. One of the best ways to protect yourself from coronavirus, COVID-19, is to wash your hands for 20 seconds. True or false? Oh no, someone pressed the wrong button. So it's interesting, right? We're playing like the game, like the questions where you have a longer time to answer, and there's true and false questions where you have to make like snap decision. And 5 of you were too anxious to get the answers quickly, but you picked the wrong answers, unfortunately. And we have in 3rd place Simon, Bernie, 2nd place Sunka, and in 1st place Ginny.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like
supposed to be on the topic is
so someone mentioned that it's not just about having the right, like the accurate information, it's also about your internet connection.
Yeah, and quick fingers. And,
so yeah, with that,
okay.
Actually, I am in New Zealand. I'm the furthest away from everybody.
No lah, my friend sent to me and see. Oh, running digital events.
All right. You should see us back in the room, and I think we are 7:21. How about we move to the next part, where this is I think this is the moment where we mute most of the folks except for the panelists. We have a lot of people here who have the chat open both on YouTube and as well on Zoom. So if you have questions, put them in, but we'll open the mic again after a while, so we do the conversation with everybody in the room. But what I'm trying now is that I mute everyone, so it should become quieter. Mute all. And okay, I'm unmuting.
That's Jane. You have to unmute.
Where's Jane?
Yes. And then Quinton.
And Quinton.
Suresh. Michael.
Michael is well.
I actually muted.
Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing is. The interesting thing is.
Suresh.
Until now, you've heard any talking
and it was me that you saw because we have one big microphone. But it's my laptop who's presenting, so it's another one of these tricks that we have to learn. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking,
yeah,
and it's my webcam because Zoom is trying to be smart.
Yeah.
Zoom says I'm showing the webcam.
Yes,
of
the person who's speaking. Yeah.
Right. So let's see. We have a lot of people again. We have Quinton. Quinton should be available.
Yep.
Yes. Suresh.
Yes.
All right, and the rest.
Jane.
Jane.
Okay. We need to unmute her.
Jane is in Taiwan.
Done.
Jane, try saying.
Hi, Jane. Okay, awesome. Right. Okay.
So we have our panelists with us, and some of them are actually meeting each other for the first time as well. So we're all in different locations. We have myself, the moderator. My name is Annie.
I'll just make that.
We also have Uli, who is right beside me here in Singapore, and Michael, who is on the other side of me in Singapore. And then we have Suresh, who is in Switzerland, and Quinton, who is joining us at a very late time from New Zealand, and Jane, who is joining us from Taipei. Yeah. So I think I can probably start with my self-introduction, and then we'll move around and get everyone else to introduce themselves. So hi, my name is En-Yi. I'm the founder of a company called PeraPera. We are a language learning platform. We do a lot of online courses teaching people to learn foreign languages. So some of the things that you can ask me about are learning a foreign language. I speak 5.5. The half is German because I think I've forgotten most of it. But I am very passionate about learning languages. Also passionate about online learning, which is becoming something that is very important these days, with a lot of schools being closed right now because of the virus, the outbreak. And there's also a lot of free educational resources you can find online during this time. So if anyone would like to know more, then feel free to reach out to me. And then next, Uli.
Yes, and before I say anything about myself, we have two people in the room here who are not on the panel, but they are. We have Ellen with us, who's also an essential part of our team, looking at things from the HR side. She's been speaking at our last event. It's on YouTube. I hope you check it out. She had an awesome session. And we have Pauline in the room, who's well, been happy for the second time. So we, well, it sounded like we were not that terrible last time. She was allowing us to come back and use the wonderful venue at Strategic Digital Labs in Robinson Road in Singapore. With that, to me, that is me, that was me at some point. I'm a digital strategist at Axway. The title that we have these days is Catalyst, which is a mix of corporate therapist, a sales enablement guy, and a technical marketing person. You could talk to me about many things. So I'm a geek. I run most of the tech setup over here. So that's part of my life. I'll typically say I'm 80% geek, and the other 80% is humanist. So I look at things from a technology perspective, and I'm very interested in humans, events, video production, music, and yeah, creating awareness and ultimately building communities. And I'm super excited about today. Let's see. The next person is this wonderful guy that I know since quite a number of years. It must be 10 years now, Quinton.
Yeah, something like that. When you started out in Reddit in Germany, and I was still working for Reddit in about Amsterdam. So
I remember we were playing Wii at some point in a German hotel 10 years ago, at some point.
Let's not talk about that, because I think some people fell over for various reasons, and that had not much to do with the Wii.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've done various roles within Red Hat, and I've been working there for almost 14 years now. So that's quite long in IT terms. So I've seen a few things happening. And currently, I'm a sales facilitator And it's an interesting time because the way I do the courses, the onboarding courses for new Red Hat salespeople, used to be face-to-face, and that is quite different now these days. So I'll have a few things to say about that. Ask me about, of course, open source, anything like that, because I'm very passionate about that. Music instruments, I play. I like diversity, so I play drums, guitar, ukulele, piano, bit of saxophone, but that's hard, and a few other things that I forgot. I also like to speak different languages. I lost count, but most of them are not very, very good. Sometimes just a few words. And cutting trees. I live in a forest, and sometimes I need to cut trees, and the patch of forest that I have in the back needs to be maintained as well. So working from home for me is actually a healthy thing rather than spending time in an airplane these days. And the current situation in New Zealand is that we're gradually moving towards lockdown, and everybody's getting a little bit afraid. So yeah, things like homeschooling, video streaming, and these things become relevant as well.
Okay.
Great. And then next we have Jane joining us from Taipei.
Jane, are you there?
She's on mute.
Oh, I remember unmuting you, but let's try this again.
Is that Zoom trying smart again?
I was hoping not to, because specifically with Jane, I think
Yeah, I was pretty sure you unmuted her as well. Let's try that again. Yes.
Hello, Jane.
Hello. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, my name is Jane. I'm an entrepreneur. I run WeTogether.co. It's a networking platform for technology professionals. Our goal is to create a very engaged global women in tech community. So I run a lot of tech events every year. We organize open source events too. Last year, we got a funding from Sintran Startup Foundation, so we can create our own brand. It's called Open Up Global Summit. It will be hosted this year in September too. So if you guys are okay to travel at the time, in September, hopefully, then definitely welcome to join us in Taipei. I run a few different nonprofits also in Taipei related to women in tech. So for example, I brought in Girls in Tech, set up Girls in Tech Taiwan. Lady.ux, I set up Lady.ux Taipei. And then also Women Who Code, I run Women Who Code Taipei chapter here too. And one of the things I definitely wanted to share with you guys when you visit Taiwan is definitely where to eat. So this is something I always enjoy bringing my friends to different places to eat. Not only those night markets, but also restaurants and small vendor shops, and even home cooking things with my friends too. So yeah, let me know if you guys are interested for me to talk about that topic, or even when you visit Taipei, just let me know. Thank you.
Awesome.
It's great.
Can we just stop talking about food, because I'm getting the midnight munchies here.
We'll try. We'll try.
Well, where are the chicken wings again? We should have a dedicated webcam for the chicken wings. Oh, one left.
Last chicken wing.
We were picking out earlier, I think.
Where's that mute button? Where's that mute button?
We'll try.
Delicious.
We'll try our best. Next we have Michael.
The microphone is a little far, but I mean, I think Michael, if you talk, it's a test for us, right? If you guys on the call can't hear us, you let us know.
Cool. Hi everyone. My name is Michael. I'm based in Singapore. I'm the founder of engineers.sg. So it's kind of like a community initiative that was started in 2013 as a way of documenting the Singapore local Singapore tech scene. We have a bunch of volunteers that go out to record meetups in Singapore. Of course, recently, because of this coronavirus, we have also started doing more online things. So we're recording quite a few meetups online. And I also run this group called Junior Dev Singapore. So it's kind of like a support group for junior developers, more like freshman developers who are coming into the scene. boot camp graduates and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's kind of like stuff we do. You could ask me about recording equipment because I do invest a fair bit of money in getting equipment for engineers or SG. So each of our recording sets are kind of, I mean, it's consumer grade stuff, but it's not very professional stuff. So it still costs a fair bit to kind of get a set together. So it's costs about at least $1,000-ish a set. So, but still, it's yeah.
Does it include lights?
No, it doesn't include lights.
I was at Simlim today just to check if I should buy some
Right,
lights.
those brown things, right? Like LED lights. Those are quite nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
Good.
Speaking of recording equipment, we have our broadcast technologist, Suresh. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Ni hao, Singapore. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
My name is Suresh. I was produced in Sri Lanka, assembled in Switzerland, so I become a Swiss 2.0. So I'm mostly involved in broadcast industry and streaming industry. I build up the broadcast studios and streaming systems. So something happening here is the COVID-19 format way, how to deliver to the audience. I mean, today we build a network, global scale. We are running every media system through the submarine cables are important to deliver content. Most of the people think everything you can do through the networks, but it's not true. But we're all the telcos in Switzerland, we have a problem at the moment. I look at the Microsoft team in Europe, they are struggling to deliver content. Those things we can talk about it. These are my expertise, and nice to meet you guys in the global audience. It's a fantastic event, what we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Suresh. And I think it's great that you brought up the points about, you know, how we can start to think about running events digitally.
Yeah.
So just a bit about that logo with the little antennas you see in green on the screen. It's probably at the end. In Singapore, we started a group called the Martians, and it's actually an offline community of people who are freelancers, or maybe people who work in corporates with very flexible schedules, people who have worked different shifts. And the Martians is meant to gather these people together and to encourage each other to stay productive. And usually we started meeting offline, right? We had productivity days where we would gather together in the same location. Maybe it's a cafe or a co-working space, but we would all be working on our individual projects. So we had, you know, freelance writers. We had Alin, who's in HR. We have Uli, who is part of a company, but it has a very flexible work schedule. There's entrepreneurs as well who maybe work from home because they don't have a physical office. And so we were meeting offline. And then a few months back, right, this whole coronavirus situation descended upon us. And although at that time it wasn't, I think the travel restrictions were not so bad. But you know, a lot of people were starting to have to work from home. So we had a previous session online, which was our first digital event, or like an online meetup, as we like to call it. So we even had the pizza. I mean, for the people who were in the room at that time, we had the pizza. But you know, everything was done online. We had people dialed in from different parts of the world, and we talked about, you know, how to begin working from home. Some of it was about tools, but also about the mindset, right? Not only from the point of view of the companies or bosses who have to now let their employees work from home, but also from the employees or people's perspective, like, you know, how do you stay productive? How do you not end up like binge watching something on Netflix? How do you adopt the correct mindset? You know, how do you balance like not being able to see people in person and still being being collaborative? And so as an extension of that, today we would like to address the topic of how to bring events, which I think is something that, you know, depends a lot on the energy of a lot of people when you gather all of them in one place. But unfortunately, right now it's getting harder and harder to do that. I'm not sure about people in other countries. In Singapore right now, for example, you cannot have an event that's more than 250 people.
Which is a super large number. It
It's
still feels like a very large number.
It's a super large number, which means that a lot of big conferences have been cancelled. Tech conferences, you know, like networking events. Meetups are probably still fine, but a lot of people are also just cancelling them out of like precaution. And so I think the challenge is, with the situation still ongoing, right? How do we then make use of this time? You know, like we still need to stay productive, like life still needs to go on to a certain extent. So how can we do things in a different way, and maybe in the process, right, discover like something that might even work better for everyone else, right? So today we'd like to hear from everyone. I'm sure there's a lot of ground to cover, and I'm looking forward, because I don't have all the answers, so I'm looking forward to having everyone chip in, and then together we can discover something that would be something that we can do for the next few months if we were to run an online event. Yeah. So I think just to start us off, I think some of you in the panel would have a lot of experience running events. Maybe, I'm guessing, mostly offline events. So, you know, if you could share a bit about your experience running both online and offline events, you know, what needs to be different, what needs to be done differently, or any challenges or pain points you see when you're trying to like hold something online when you used to do it offline. And I think would anyone like to start, or I can nominate someone to start?
No, I have a very good good example.
Okay.
Great.
A couple of years ago, yeah, I was also thinking of that example because I think you were there as well.
Yeah.
In Red Hat, in my former job when I was living in Singapore, I used to organize technical events for the technical folks within Red Hat, all across Asia Pacific. And I think it was the third year in or something like that we organized it in Bangkok. And we had a bomb explosion happening in Bangkok. I think it was the week or something like that, the week before that the event was happening. So you're in the buzz of that event, you're ready to travel out and things like that, and get prepared for that offline event. And then suddenly that happens. And within a few days, really, we had decided to not do that, to cancel that and go online on BlueJeans, to deliver it on BlueJeans. Are most of you familiar with BlueJeans? Have you heard about it?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, you have, but it's similar to Zoom and any other video conferencing tool with a chat box and people you can see and mute and things like that. So that was a bit of a shock, of course, because how would you do such a thing? Because I think at the time we were organizing it for 250 people or thereabouts. And one of the key things was that the technology was not up to par to handle more than 30 people in a room.
It was 2016, I think.
Yeah, 2016. And there's a couple of things. You have to check your technology and not trust what the folks are saying, because they said, well, we have lifted the increased the number of connections, possible connections, so you should be fine after 30. He said, well, I need 120 in each, at least. They said, no problem. So we started the event at 9 o'clock Singapore time or something like that, and people were emailing me like crazy that they could not connect. So then you're off to a really, really, really bad start. And that brings me actually to a very important point when you're organizing digital events. You have to make sure that your technology works. Just test it. Secondly, make sure that the first bits that they work flawlessly. I don't care how you pull it off, do it. Because after that, you're only playing catching up with the schedule. The other thing is, keep your discipline. People need to know unambiguously what is going to happen, what needs to be done. You have to almost do it like a military drill. Because if you're not, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that, things might run out of hand. So really, it's almost like teaching school children at some point. You really have to tell them, do this, do that. Otherwise, people get distracted, get lost, or start to interpret things. And if you have a lot of people in your event that start to interpret things, and I'm sure that everybody here works with smart and creative people, that's where things really can go in different directions. So in the end, we were able to pull it off. Over a couple of days, we had 4 rooms where people would come in and attend sessions. So it was to an extent useful. And the other tip that I remember was, they said, Quinten or Mr. Drill Sergeant, could you please also next time build in some bathroom breaks? Because they kept on presenting and then we put on another presenter and people were just watching these streams for 8 hours a day, which was a bit daunting. But look, it was under very dire circumstances, kind of similar like this. You have to quickly react to something and then deliver value. We're a little bit more ahead now of the curve. The technology has improved. We have now this nice conference also to talk about these things and share this kind of things. Yeah, down the line, it comes down to make sure your technology works, make sure that you unambiguously communicate what is going to happen and what people need to do.
That's a very good point. Thank you, Quinten, for that. I especially agree with the point about having toilet breaks. I think sometimes, when you're all in the same room, it's very easy to do that, right? To take breaks and like to notice when the attention in the room is kind of like people are starting to fall asleep or something. But online, it's a bit harder to monitor that. And, everyone, it might be at different times, like in different places for different people. So having that written down and remembering to do that, like in an almost military kind of fashion, I think it's probably super important. Yeah, so thanks. I think those are very good tips. So we've heard some of the tips. What are some of the challenges that maybe some of you have faced in trying to start with this whole bringing events online? Like, maybe we could hear from.
I would like to address with the first question that you asked me, NG, said how we are facing this problem. I think we built the second planet. I think we managed to build the digital planet as well around the globe. And what the positive thing about this is it's not a technological problem. I think it's a cultural problem. I think we have to rethink how humanity is going to live together in the digital and the analog way. And mostly the policymakers and also the cultural institution and all those people, we have to rethink how we're going to live. If you send everyone home to work I mean, the kids are around, your mother-in-law is around, you may don't like her or you may like her, or those problems, we are going to face the problem because you are all the time at home. So I think we have to really rethink how we're going to live together. Maybe we need more parks, more and more community area. Time to time you meet and exchange your ideas, or how you're going to travel. Also, we have to think, I think it's a big industrial problem is all the airline. How are you going to your friends who are working at the airline, or your family who are working at the airline, they're also going to lose the job. I mean, this is also, we have to start to rethink everything in a long term, and we have to take responsibility, and all the government, they should do it in a very good way. I think Singapore, you guys are building a smart nation, and as Koreans, they are, how they act coronavirus in a very smart way. In China was hit very strongly, and how they rebuild the China very fast, and also Taiwan, how they did it at the corona action. The Asian states are doing fantastically, and the Europeans are struggling to face those problems because Asian states are using big data and all the telco technologies and using all the chat program. So this maybe new innovation will come from Asia, and this is what I see. And I don't think it's we have a technical problem. Technology is there, and all the broadcasters, they always did the broadcasting in a very, very cool way, because if you have a 7 o'clock news, they bring you 7 o'clock the news. They don't say, hello guys, we are a little bit sorry, we are 2-3 minutes delay. No, we have to learn from broadcasters how to deliver fantastic solution without any problems. So this is the IT industry has to learn from the broadcaster, and the broadcaster has to learn from IT industry how to deliver the content. Today we have a fantastic content delivery network, how they build the edge computing system, edge delivery networks. So those things we have to go through. This is what I think in the first steps.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think, to me, you brought up that it's not just about the technology, right? I think it's also a lot about like the mindsets and then changing people's habits in a way, right? They used to do things a certain way, and then now, they have to do something differently. And for some people, it's a huge barrier in itself to get across. I'd actually like to hear from Uli on this topic, right? Because you've had lots of experience with running events. You clearly, you have a lot of equipment as well. And but what do you think is the most important thing for in this time now, whether it's from like an event organizer perspective, or for someone who is used to attending offline events, but now is stuck at home and it's like, oh, maybe I should try out this online event, right? Do you? What kind of recommendations do you have for people?
Recommendations. How long is a piece of string? Well, so first of all, when Quinton just spoke about this event, that was in 2016, I remember that we are very much used to presenting at events where you go on stage, you see your audience, you see the question marks on people's faces, you have drinks with them. Sometimes you even make friends with them before the presentation starts, so you can involve them while you present. And then suddenly, within 2 days, you are told you need to do this presentation online, and you're sitting in a room, you're nervous, you're looking into a camera, you don't know, is anybody listening to me? Are they making fun of me, or do they even understand me? So that's a difficult part. I think we spoke about the whole point of being productive at home last time. When it comes to events these days, right? I mean, for me, it's yes, the technology part. You see all these wonderful microphones that I have over here. This Kai person on the call fixed me up, and it's one of the reasons why we have great audio today. These are important. The difficult part is really the human. So how do I motivate friends, colleagues, business partners, customers to switch on their video when we have the conversation? When we sit in the same room, when we have lunch together, yes. When we are in a conference call, not that easy. For people who run meetings, who run meetups now online, I think it's especially interesting to have an idea who's your audience. You find the right keywords, because everybody now these days is, I don't want to say spamming you, but everybody is like bombarding you with join this webinar, do this online event. You have to be relevant. And plus you no longer have these, I will say, incentive factors, right? You come to my event, we buy you lunch, you get beer, you get free pizza. We might even, you have to talk to your boss that I need to block my calendar because I need to fly to KL to participate in this event. Everybody understands that, but if he's just sitting at his desk watching YouTube, that's not work, right? So we need to talk about these kinds of things and figure out what the answers are and how do we motivate people to come. If I'm sorry, I would love to buy everybody pizza today, but you're not in the same room. At the same time, see what is possible. We have people from, well, even some people from the US were saying that they would dial in today. It's you can easily make this a global thing. And it raises questions like, so if we are no longer meeting at the same venue, what is a good time? When do we do the meetup? When do we do the event? Do we pick the majority? Do we do 7 p.m. Singapore time and then everybody else in New Zealand has a tough time, or the guys in Europe are just having lunch? So I find it fascinating, and I certainly don't have the answers. I think what I like about our event is that we are basically turning the topic on its head. We're running an online meetup on the topic of online meetup, and we experiment. And I think if you are, people always say, don't be afraid to make mistakes. But what does it actually mean? Just be open, be collaborative, be transparent, and realize that we are not able to solve everything by ourselves, and try it out and see how you go and make it better next time.
And I think, on our panel, Jane as well, I met Jane in Singapore. She's actually usually based in Taiwan. And so, it's much harder for me to meet her now. And I know she travels a lot to different places to hold like open source outreach programs. So I'm curious as to how things have changed for you, Jane. Like, has it, obviously with some travel bans to some countries, it's making it harder to travel. Are you guys still trying to hold maybe smaller events offline, or are you trying to move things online? And how has the whole virus situation impacted what you're doing?
Thanks, Annie, for inviting me. I definitely wanted to share. So on average, 100 events are hosted in my community. Most of them definitely are physical events. Like we love to do face-to-face. Nothing beats, the offline events. Most of us remain in tech, so we love to talk. Not only learning about new things, but also to chat with each other in person. And because of this, coronavirus situation, it definitely makes us to a lot of us actually work from home now. But it's a lot of time they actually still wanted to have physical meetups, because of course one of the reason is maybe overall situation in Taiwan is still controllable, and then smaller meetups like people less than 30 people or even 50. It's still bearable, and people definitely wanted to meet with each other. Like the willing of coming out to meet with them is the main reason that why the community is like this. We are very, very connected. In terms of the challenges of because of the current situation that we have to move the most of the meetups to online version, or even I'm thinking also how do we do the Open Up Summit for the next one if the situation is even worse than the current ones. How do we do it? And I wanted to say there's actually some common ground when you host physical events versus the online event. So for example, I do agree with Yuli and other speakers here. Engagement is definitely something that physical event can do better. But actually, for example, I usually, if it's an online event, if it's less than maybe 30 people, I wanted to do it at the same way that I host physical events. So I invite everyone to talk about themselves as a self-introduction. And at that, self-introduction, we can know people's, for example, interests, background, professionally, even, privately, and also why they are interested in this topic. This actually gives the speakers some guidance or directions regarding what they will be and who those audience want, essentially. So that's the common ground I usually do. Even I know online events harder to engage people, but something like this actually can make sure people know each other, even help them to connect with each other offline in the future, or even connect them in the Slack groups, whatever methods for them to be able to know each other rather than only knowing the stories about the speakers. Another thing about online events, we know that speakers may not be aware of audiences' reactions during the process of speaking, or the content, may not be, matching with what audiences want during that, process. So I do think usually we invite the volunteers to be moderators. Some of them, can be the moderator at the time, when they can watch people's reactions during the online meetup. By chatting with them, provide them guidance, code of conduct, or even what's going to happen next, like those agenda. And at the same time, there are some, volunteers, they think about questions even before the meetup, so that, when we say, hey, Q&A, anyone wants to come up with good questions or any questions here, some volunteers can, come up with good ones, so that overall vibe or atmosphere won't be too serious or boring for the audience. And then I think design the interaction, like what you just did with Kahoot, with other engaging tools is also important, so that people know there's maybe some goodies coming up after, or there's some lottery things happening if we get to listen to this person's and get to answer certain questions. So those are the small things I think people like. And then, of course, the good tools, people usually recommend Zoom. And we usually use, if we are able to promote open source, for example, recently we started to use Jitsi. I can post the links later. Jitsi is also like an online live streaming tool. You can do recording, you can engage with people pretty easily and easy to use too. And then, if it's bigger audience around the world, is another event app, which recently I joined Women in Product conference there. And then there's like 500 people online at the same time. And, we don't have any problem with, interacting with, of course, it's more like a lecture session, but chat rooms or something, it's pretty open for everyone to connect with each other. And so these are the good, tools that we can utilize. But at the end of the day, I think what we wanted to help people actually, like what we wanted to promote more humanity part of the community, or how we want to make sure the community is going forward with you guys together. Definitely guide them to certain groups that you're creating. For example, the linking groups, or the Slack groups or Facebook groups, which we are using constantly. So these are the things that we suggest based on the current challenges. And there's also certain things that correlated to what can we bring the better things for the people in our community, that shouldn't be too much trouble for them to experience the same type of vibe that we wanted to create in here.
Thanks, Jane. Very informative. A lot of points there. And I think, with regards to you mentioning that some things can actually be done even better online than they can be offline. I think a very good example was, as we were speaking, I can see the chat is actually very active.
Yes, and can I just give a quick shout out to Christian, because you might have seen while Jane was talking, you could still see us. And Christian was saying, hey, how do I see the current presenter? And we are all learning as we go, right? So I did a few tricks. It's not relevant at the moment, but now when we speak, you should see us. And now when, let's say if Quinton says something, you didn't get the chance to see his handsome face earlier, maybe. Quinton?
Testing, 1, 2, here we are.
Yeah, see, it switches to him.
Nice.
Awesome, I'm sorry, please continue.
All right. There's also an interesting question in the chat from, what was it? It's so engaging. From Alexander Janssen, sounds Dutch almost. I have a question for all of you. How do you replace the vibe of community at an offline event Conferences are also serve as a bonding opportunity for people. Hey, I saw you at this event, or wearing a name tag, and let's not forget talking about food. Here we go again. All those little things make up events more than the talk sometimes. How do you substitute that online? I find that a very intriguing question, because I think also to Suresh's point, when he started out his plead and his story, you see that the world is actually now changing. Everybody that says, well, I hope that this blows over and that we can go back to what it normally was, that will not happen. This is the change, and we will come out here differently. So doing online events, and in my case, online learning as well, which is an event in itself, I think there's a few things that are important to understand. Look, I think first off, on a high level, you need something like a shared purpose. Whatever the reason is for your community to stick together, that needs to be highlighted, whatever that is. That could be a learning purpose. In my case, it could be a development purpose or a business purpose, whatever that is an important thing. Now, to engage people sits, of course, in a shared purpose, but it also sits in all those little things. And how do you do that? It's very hard. That's true. But for example, we need to experiment a little bit. And what we've been doing in Red Hat is that we have virtual drinks, hopefully in the same time zone, but you sit in front of your computer and you have literally a adult beverage. But if you're not doing that, that's fine too. But you have a beverage and you do not talk about work. You do not talk about work. With your colleagues, you're not allowed to talk about work. Anything else goes. Coronavirus, of course, and whatever is on your mind, but you're not allowed to talk about work. Mm-hmm. And that's harder than it seems, but it's very engaging once you get in there. And the other thing that I'm doing is I'm Dutch originally, and to connect with the home front, you have to do it back and forth, right? So I'm connecting with colleagues around the world to have a virtual coffee. And sometimes that virtual coffee, we have to switch that around because of the time zones, because sometimes it's coffee for me and wine for the other. Sometimes you want to switch that around to get in that same sort of vibe. And last but not least, I think using humor, doing things out of the ordinary, whatever that is, Kahoot, doing something unexpected or whatever it is, that has to keep people engaged and give them a story to tell.
Yep. Thank you for that. So keep the questions coming in chat. And I had a question for Michael, who runs a lot of events for developers. And I think it's a bit of a contradiction because developer events are usually the largest ones. I think if you're on Meetup in Singapore and you look at the number of people attending an event, usually it's like a developers event. It's like like over 100 people easily, and that could happen almost every week. But on the other hand, a lot of developers also can go for long stretches of time just working independently, right? And then, we see some of the biggest events, let's say Google's I/O conference, they bring it online this year. Facebook canceled the F8 conference this year. So from your perspective, is that something that you see, for the events in Singapore? Do you see that there's also similar initiatives to bring things online, and has it been easy or hard to do that, given that the people who are attending it are originally really tech savvy, right? Who make use of a lot of tools.
Sure. Ironically, when this whole coronavirus started blowing up, because a lot of the meetups are kind of held at tech company offices, right? So the first instinct they have is let's not do this. So a lot of companies that that used to host meetups, they're like, oh, let's be a bit more careful. So they just tell the organizers that, hey, you know, we want to be a bit more careful and probably shouldn't be holding our meetups so this month. So I think during the first few months, at least a lot of the meetups that were originally scheduled were basically cancelled, either cancelled or postponed to the next month, right? Hoping that you know it's going to blow over and it's not going to go too bad.
Yeah.
But after the first month of this happening, a lot of people were like wondering, okay, maybe we should start thinking about bringing this thing online. Even though we are very tech savvy, but we are like dealing with webcams and microphones and stuff. It's not something that every techie can really get into. Right? They have probably done a bit of like video conferencing at work, you know, but it's about how do you share their screen and everything. That's not a natural instinct for a lot of the developers that I know. And some of them were like, oh, they roughly know how to do it for video conferencing at work, but really for like engaging a bigger audience and all that is they're not too sure. Or rather, like, should we do like a Zoom call? Do we do like a YouTube live stream, or how should we go about doing this? Right. So a lot of them are. I mean, again, this is not an area that a lot of techies are like really know a lot about. So that's why we as engineers SG, we also want to like, we want to help people. So I posted on Twitter and sometimes go about, hey, you need our help, we can help you some help. Just fill out this Google form and we'll help you with the technical bits.
Yeah.
So far, we've helped a few meetups, like CSS meetup, JavaScript meetup. We also did one for Ruby meetup. We even did one fully online with the GraphQL Hong Kong meetup, which is kind of interesting. Yeah.
And on average, how many people attend these online?
Not a lot. So even though a lot of the techies they like to go online and all that stuff, but then I think it's like if they watch a video, they might as well just Google or YouTube thing, right? Rather than actually watch a video of somebody talking about stuff. I think the value of going for physical meetup is that you can talk, engage with the audience, engage with the other participants, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that's kind of lacking in a video conference call like this, which I think some of the techniques you guys have shared about, I think is very, very interesting. I've seen, well, at least for the JavaScript meetup where Min Ong actually runs in Singapore, she actually made a point to kind of like, let's start the video call half an hour earlier. And then she started getting all her friends and all that.
That's what we did.
Yeah. So I think that's very helpful in kind of creating, replicating that vibe. And for Hui Jing, who runs the CSS meetup, she insists on having a staging area like this, right? So that a staging area like this will help to kind of, she can bounce she can get some, as a speaker, it's important to get feedback as you do the presentation. You get feedback from either a person who's sitting across you or something like that. So having a staging area means you can have a few person in the audience, less people, and you can then feed off the energy of like the people who are physically there. Where all the way at home and just talking to a webcam and everything, it helps, as you say, it helps with all the attendees in the Zoom call. Turn on the camera so you can actually see their live and facial reaction, which is really helpful. As a speaker myself, I always last night I was speaking at the Ruby meetup. I actually recorded it at home, and having the other webcam of the other attendees, you know, and you can see their physical reaction or their facial reaction. Does help a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that one point that you mentioned also made me think that at some point we just have to change. And when I look at my colleagues, I know that they are no longer able to visit their customers, for example. So until recently, and we all know this, you get tons of emails, newsletters that you don't have the time anymore to read, replays of meetups that you could watch, but actually you choose not to because, you know, you can't block the time, you have stuff to do. But now that it's more and more impossible to attend physical events, people realize they have to change. And there will be better ways of engagement. Some smart company startup will probably Parapel will come up with something engaging, but it's just a necessity.
And also like that going online is also made meetups a lot more accessible to people. Like at last night's Ruby meetup, we actually had a person calling from China. It's kind of interesting. I think, wow, we would never have been able to have that in a physical meetup unless they're physically here in Singapore, right?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, and I'm not paranoid. It's just, you know, you wouldn't walk into a physical meetup of a competitor, but if it's online, you could just choose a different name and then you're there. And then, you know what I mean? It's sometimes it also creates issues. You would talk about stuff at a physical meetup, but when you are talking into a camera, you don't know who's watching. It's always a little difficult. So, and I think people are wary. They have this kind of in the back of their head as well. So it's yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm here also in the chat with George Go.
Oh yeah.
Who actually used to work for Red Hat, but switched over to a frenemy. So yeah, I have to be extra careful with what I'm saying now these days. No offense, George, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to be aware of these things. But also on another slightly different note, the process where I am currently in is that the course that I'm normally delivering, which is a 5-day course, which is interactive, people are giving each other feedback. There's discussions about technology and whatnot, and exercises, role playing, and all that we are going to do next week online. And we've been talking a lot with the designer team that designs the courses, facilitators from all over the world, on how to do that, how to think of, well, how would these things go online? And it's not easy because you don't know. We don't know what the engagement is. The only thing that I know is that I have to deliver value. I have to enable a couple of salespeople to be able to do our sales pitches, talk about our technology, understand what's happening at C levels, at architecture levels, and things like that. But honestly, I am excited and a little bit afraid that next week is going to be a disaster or not. Look, there's going to be some sort of value, that's for sure. But there's going to be also, let's say, a lot of learnings as well. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't have all the answers, but going back to my first point, especially when it's in a learning environment, discipline is the first thing that you need to enforce in that class, and make sure that you get all the people marching in the same time. And as a side note, what I do in my class, and that's not a secret actually, but if people are late, they have to sing a song, which is, you know, that's also to keep juices flowing, keep people engaged, and things like that. I'm not sure if I can do that virtually. It'll be interesting to see if we can pull that off. But that helps the engagement going, because people are either a little bit afraid or shy. And I even had people that came purposely too late because they wanted to sing a song.
That's amazing.
It is.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, a very, very interesting ideas we have now for the rest of the room in terms of what we can make people do. And, you know, it actually even has more impact if you do it virtually. Can you imagine if we had some people who were late to our meetup and we're like, okay, you're singing a song. And usually that's okay if you sing it in front of like 20 people in the class, but this goes on YouTube, right? Your 30 seconds of fame, you know, and maybe not voluntarily. We've come to a bit towards the end of our session today. We have some time for questions, I was also planning to invite everyone to what I call the future of online meetups, which is basically like, it's a mixed reality room, right? It's a conference room, and everyone gets to pick an avatar. And so when you go in, you can see, you can change the space. So you can have rolling green fields, or you can have even something that you're more familiar with, like a conference room setting. And then you can add random things in the room. You can add pizza. You can add like a painting or something. And I thought it would be, if there are no burning questions, we could actually all take a look.
I think Christian had a note, and I wanted to thank him earlier.
Okay.
Let me unmute Christian if he's still here. Christian. Oh yeah, another German person. Hi, Christian.
Hi, Oli.
I think you wanted to make a comment. Hi, good to see you again. It's been a while. You've been busy, but that's a good thing.
You lost weight.
I lost weight, thank you. Thanks, Quentin. Good to see everybody, a few familiar faces. Hello from Ho Chi Minh, actually, to everybody. So I'm locked down in Vietnam.
Not the worst place to be.
Not really, no complaints. Plus I have a good view. So I mean, there's one thing quickly to share, because I shared it in the chat. Actually, and this was purely not conference, but it was pure personal, because most of people put themselves in self-quarantine and social distancing right now. We did actually yesterday a WeChat virtual drink, so you can see it here on my screen probably. So with 6 people all together, we were basically playing rock, paper, scissors over WeChat. So that was quite fun. That's fair.
Everyone seems to really like the virtual drinks idea. I mean, I see in chat, like, let's do that.
Yeah.
So I think we have a winning formula.
Fantastic. Well, so I'm.
Can somebody
else,
maybe?
We've learned that virtual drinks is the way to go.
Right. So I'm trying this on Friday morning actually with Internations over breakfast. So that's the Breakfast Networking Group. It's the only event in Singapore that is still live, because all the other ones are cancelled or on hold. And mine is the first online one.
The real point I wanted to bring is actually, and it has been slightly mentioned already a few times, but I think it's important to reinforce the networking and the connecting with people. So, and I had just a great experience here actually during the chat, because Sui Ting, I hope I pronounced your name right, but we were texting over the chat tool and connecting now over LinkedIn, because she asked me about the WeChat experience actually, because I mentioned it. And I think that's one of the major things I still see lacking in the tools like Zoom, that this networking, right? And it's a bit, one part is building the human connection, but the other one is also, and I think technology can help there, you build the right connections. Yeah, at a big conference event, you randomly bump into people, you can connect to them, you have to then scan their WeChat or you connect via LinkedIn. Here, if you have participants with their profiles, with their skills, with their needs or their interests in a more structured way available, and you can, during a presentation or online meeting, reach out directly to them in a very targeted way, I think there's a great opportunity, but there is still a need to address it from the tools and also from the logistics point of view, so that people get that opportunity, right? Because that's a big part of conferences in person, that at the end you go back not only with knowledge, but with an additional network.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of the best parts about conferences, is that you get to meet a lot of people over a course of 3 days. I see in the chat right now, someone has said we should probably add our LinkedIn profile URL so that we can all connect with each other.
Yeah.
So on the Martian side, we have the speakers' LinkedIn profiles there, but obviously there are a lot of other people in this chat, and it's there's some really good conversations going on here. So I mean, definitely people can keep in touch and take this further, even after this session ends.
And I'm really curious, one last point to add, Collision Conference in June, they've decided to bring it completely online. That's a conference happening with 30,000 attendees. So that's like Web Summit or RISE conference size, 250 speakers. And I mean, so far not much can be seen, but what they communicate is that they are very much working on it to bring as much as possible of that offline experience to an online conference. So that's definitely one for me to watch out for best practices.
I've seen that one too, but they were really secretive about whether it's a paid event or a free event and what they're going to charge for it. It's like you gotta express your interest, and we will get back to you. But the rest of it looks really good. You're right.
Yeah. What do you?
Mm.
Oli, I would like to contribute something. How we
Sure.
can bring the people really online.
Sure.
What is that meaning? How to accelerate the people meet online? We have to push Wi-Fi 6 in all the entire buildings and 5G networks and nationwide. And this is give us a great opportunity to receive the audio video quality. And at the same time, I think the HR has to rethink how they are going to work with the people. So today you have a, maybe HR is only focusing on the old style of working style. I mean, I think they had to rethink how to manage. Maybe you need the HR as HR become a TV host. I mean, like NG is doing. No, I mean, we need a coordinator online who can contribute, manage the people, online meetings, online conferences, and at the same time, I think we have to also build the cafes, and so we should provide working spaces, meeting rooms, and hotels. Maybe they had to rethink to offer 2 hours rooms or more conference room, or more people can enter hourly based or half a day based. An airline should offer how to during your travel you watch Netflix and all those things. So maybe they should offer a different way of content delivery on aircraft. I mean, today we have the technology, we can do it, and Elon Musk is sending all the satellite to provide the internet. Maybe aircraft can receive the signal, and this is also easy to do the network connection. And then another thing is also you talk about the drinks. Why we don't do the global scale at the cafes? And so you say today we are going to drink I don't know what kind of brand, and everybody delivering pizza, and today we are going to eat globally, everybody participating from their own location, but the margarita will be delivered home. It's a new business models are coming in. But it's a cultural things is really important. I think we had to rethink how we are going to collaborate and co-working through the network, and also physical work. You cannot replace the carpenter, or you cannot replace a plumber, or you cannot replace a car mechanic. You had to go physical work, but maybe we can optimize the buildings. Maybe, who knows, maybe we have more and more spaces to at the corporate buildings. Maybe you can also live there, or you can also at the home. But the main point is, I think maybe corporation, they should deliver home internet free for all the employees, you know. I mean, also the facility, we had to think everything, we had to rethink. And also the government policy, how you're going to do the unemployment mass scale. And when the people also, I think most of the people are at home at the moment, and we should deliver maybe free condoms. Maybe baby booms are coming again. We don't know.
Oh wait, you can't hear. Can't hear Suresh.
Did we lose you, Suresh?
No, he's finished talking. Oh, okay. It's just I see. I like how food manages to make its way into the conversation, whether we're doing an offline meetup or whether it's like online. And definitely, I think it's a shift in habits, right? Especially with this situation being very long and drawn out now. So yeah, of course.
Just speak louder.
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Ellen would like to add something. She's been very active on chat.
Oh yes.
So please do share. Please do share.
Yeah, I was having fun in the chat, and then I heard somebody say HR. I'm yes, here I am.
She's immersed in the virtual reality of.
Yeah. So one of the things that is very interesting is there's, like Oli mentioned, there's a bunch of people. There's really spamming going on in terms of webinars and the events that is happening online. Recently, we had an event, a HR event called Hacking HR, and there was like 2 or 3 days of back-to-back events and all happening online. And I dialed in, and as a participant who is interested in the event, I stayed focused only for maybe for the first 2 minutes, and then I started getting distracted because I was on my laptop first thing. And laptop primarily for people our age or older, younger, in slightly younger, we see it as work machines. So it is like automatically when you are listening to something, you're watching something, even if it is interesting, after a couple of minutes, you just drift off because, oh, you're at a work machine. It's kind of a mindset that you have been, you're working with it. But for the younger generation, I believe it would be slightly better because they work and play on these machines, not just work. So we've been taught to look at this as slightly more seriously, a laptop or a desktop or any equipment for that matter. We kind of see it as a work machine. So for me, from a human resource perspective, I think the mind shift or the mindset change comes from, okay, looking at a laptop as doing, not restricting in a company setting, not restricting the laptop just to use it for work and for meetings, but considering it as, okay, so this is your machine and relax your, some companies may not be okay with it because there are many technology companies that are very restrictive of some of the machines that people can carry home.
Yes.
So that line is very clearly drawn in some companies. Their security, their IT folks don't like it if when you take your some of the equipment home. Or so this is a very this is the line that needs to shift a little bit so that people start looking at this machine as, oh, okay, this is also something useful to play with, so then you probably get a bit more engaged in what you're listening to. There are many events going to be happening online where you'll be like just looking at it. Sometimes it's just a blank screen, so it's difficult to just keep concentration and then you just start answering emails.
Yeah.
So, but anybody has any good hacks for it? It would be really helpful if you can share for like really long meetings with a lot of people online. How do you keep their attention? How do you grabbing the attention, I guess, is okay because if they have logged in, maybe they will stay focused for the first few minutes. But how do you keep their attention beyond the first 5 to 10 minutes? Anybody has any hacks? Please share.
So somebody wants to raise their hands, they can actually do that and we can unmute them. That's, okay, Christian again. Christian, okay, let's try this.
Okay, no, this was actually raised, so good that you pick it up now. I raised it like half an hour ago.
Right, thank you.
So, but let me add a comment there, and I think so. Two ideas or thoughts. One, so I'm part of a entrepreneurs network, and we do monthly forum meetings. That's the same 8 people. We religiously usually meet in person. Now, yesterday was the first day we met also over a Zoom meeting. It was a close to 4-hour intensive session, and 2 points, one picking up from what just the other lady said, to the distraction, right? I mean, there in those forum meetings, we anyhow have the rule, no laptop, no phone, go on flight mode so that there's really focus and concentration on the meeting itself. But I think it's even more important when you're sitting alone in front of your laptop, of your iPad, that you switch off any other notifications or distractions, and because otherwise you lose the focus very easily. And the second part is actually, even in a small meeting like this, what I experienced yesterday with 8 people, to have a meeting manager. So really somebody who is like almost like an MC or so, more on the technical side, which now goes back again to the raising the hand, right? So that there's one person who monitors that, who helps keep the time, who really is not the content moderator, but the technical meeting moderator, basically. I think that's additional good points for online conferences.
Right. A timekeeper. Yeah, you mean like something like a timekeeper and a discipline master.
the timekeeper, discipline master, the one now the raising hands, for example, I guess you didn't catch it because you were speaking yourself, right? But if there's another person who would monitor that, he could make you aware of that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
no personal.
You have a lot of help. So that's, yes, good point.
Yeah. That's all very useful even for us. It's our second time running an online meetup, right? So we're definitely learning as we do this, and everything that people have shared. I really do hope that we keep this conversation going even, you know, after the session ends. You know, if you're doing anything online, like, you know, tag the rest of us, let us know what you're working on. I think it'll be very interesting. And, you know, if you discover any new things like digital drinks, and definitely share it with the rest of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that that is happening now, I think somebody raised that just now. There is now an explosion in online tips and tricks how to deliver virtual courses. LinkedIn is giving me, I don't know, 3 to 4 suggestions every day. If I browse the big bad interweb, there's all kinds of, I don't know, structures and learnings and documents and blog posts available on best tips to do virtual delivery. So I think it's not that there is a lack of information or tips out there. There's even this session. I'll be interested to reconvene with this group, I don't know, in a couple of weeks or something like that, when I know a little bit more, and we probably all know a little bit more, and the world has probably changed in a couple of weeks to something completely differently, and see where we at, right? Because now we spoke about engagement, how that works technically, things like that. Let's see how these things hold up in the next couple of weeks, and then reconvene and see, okay, it seems that technology is not an issue, for example. Let's talk about things like shared purpose, values, how things are changing for humanity, and how technology is actually facilitating those things. Because the next thing, to Suresh's point as well, where is this 5G, 6G, all this technology stuff? And I'm a bit of a nerd, but not too much. What possibilities do we have with VR and AI as a next generation of engagement, where we virtually sit into a room? There's many science fiction movies out there that already sort of predict that. And I'm sure technology people look at these science fiction movies and think, well, I'm going to develop something like that, right? It's almost becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the future is that we will be in a virtual reality space altogether. And this is the first 1.0 version, I would say, where we say to our kids, you know, when we were young, you know, we were sitting in front of a machine and we were just looking at the screen and many different faces. That looks very archaic in 50 years from now, right? So
I love the point.
Yeah, I think it's a great
and the other
point.
part, Quentin, is talking about science fiction. I think we have science fiction movies that are 30, 40 years old, where people talk with each other on video screen, at Star Trek. And today, I need to motivate people to switch on Skype, to switch on the camera. So I had to say VR, you know, that
Oculus?
Oculus, yes. I keep forgetting all these Microsoft technologies that are in beta since forever. These are awesome. I want to test. I think Suresh also has some tests. And
Uli and I tested the
Mozilla Hub, right?
Mozilla Hub.
That's awesome. But for me, the other part is, you know, we have so much awesome technology there, like video conferencing. How can I get people who they prefer to speak into a squeaky spider phone? I heard my name, right? That kind of stuff. As opposed
so who remembers, for example, Knight Rider? There's this guy that talks to through a watch, talks to his car, which is a completely self-driven machine. And that was in 1982 or something like that.
Yes. Yeah, good. Well, so I think it's 3 weeks ago, I think, or almost a month ago, we spoke. The situation was quite fresh, and we had Keith here from the National University of Singapore. We had actually 6 people. It was more like a 15 minutes TED talk for everyone on the same topic. How do we stay productive? How do we stay functional? as a company, as individuals. Today we were talking more about events. I think we want to keep this going and maybe have a topic around how do we work with our customers. I can very much relate to the full day, 5-day workshop that we now have to do digital. I have the same questions, the same problems, that we speak about this part. How, if I can't meet the customer, if I can't meet prospects, how do I buy them a beer over Skype? Or how do I pull them away from the big meeting into a coffee discussion where we figure out where the real issues are, something they wouldn't say in the meeting, but they will say to you if you see them on a one-to-one basis. It's interesting topic. So yeah, let's do this again, and we don't need much preparation. I mean, we could do this next week. We could do this in 2 weeks.
Yep.
It's up to so for everybody who's on the list here, if you think you have something to say, you want to be featured, you want to be setting some of the topics here.
Yeah, we're definitely open to suggestions. I think a lot of us are now collected on LinkedIn, so just let us know anytime, right? And it's definitely easy to set it up, you know, next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially those in technology.
Yeah, technology salespeople.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I think unfortunately we've run out of time, but it has been a very engaging discussion, and I'm glad that we are going to take this to the next level and do it again, you know, with like maybe even more specific subtopics. Once again, thank you very much to Pauline and Strategic Digital Labs, which is a digital marketing agency here in Singapore, for sponsoring the venue. And
we'll FedEx pizza to New Zealand and to Zurich and to Taiwan.
And we'll let Quinton go to bed finally. Or maybe he's going for a snack now after all the talk.
I'm probably gonna do some instant noodles.
And thank you very much to all our speakers, Jane, Michael, Suresh, Uli. Thanks to Alin as well, who's also very helping us answer some questions on chat. And then we'll look forward to seeing you guys the next time.
Thank you all.
Great.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.